Take a deep breath, tune inside. Notice what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And clear space for whatever you will receive during this time of meditation. Despite the efforts made by the Nephites to have strong armor, it was the inward righteousness that proved to be more important than any armor at winning the war. How is your inner righteousness, your discipline to stay faithful to the Son of Righteousness? How does it empower you for the battles that are in your life? Maybe even more so than any temporal preparation you can make. How is Jesus your captain, the one that you look to during the battles? In this particular series of battles, it was the Nephites who almost lost the whole war because of the battle within, amongst themselves. What are the battles that you have from within, just inside of you? How can you have more peace inside? How can your natural man and your spiritual side be at peace with each other? When you're not at peace inside, how does the enemy from the outside benefit from this internal battle? In these war chapters, it was the teenagers ultimately that saved the Nephites from utter destruction. What can you learn from the faithful teenagers that you know? The stripling warriors fought, and they were inspired by just the thought that their fathers would possibly break their covenants. What is it about this family dynamic that you would like to emulate? Despite incredible hardships, the teenage warriors, they didn't doubt that God would deliver them. And this reliance on God was taught by their mothers. And it was also demonstrated by their fathers and by their uncles and their grandfathers, who did not fear death and instead knelt down in battle rather than take up the sword and break their oath to God. What was taught to you by your mother about trusting God? What examples do you have of people in your life who wholeheartedly relied on God? And what example are you passing down to the younger generation about faithfully relying on God's delivering power? The Ammonites recognized that they would have died if they kept their oath had it not been for the love of Ammon and his brethren and the other Nephites who were able to protect them. And in exchange, the people of Ammon supported the Nephites with food and supplies. In some ways, they exchanged these things, but it wasn't a transactional relationship where they provided food and supplies, and then the Nephites, by the thousands, gave their lives to protect the people of Ammon. It was a covenantal relationship, not a transactional one. It wasn't about it being fair or equal. It was about love, fidelity, helping each other. What relationships do you have in your life that are merely transactional? And how does that compare to the ones that are covenantal? That are based on something much higher than transaction. What you get for what you give. When you approach a relationship as covenantal rather than transactional, what changes inside for you? Sometimes we give more than we receive. And like Heavenly Father, sometimes, in fact all the time, we receive more than we give. Notice how that feels inside to know that your Heavenly Father loves you in a covenantal way, not just a transactional way. Paharan received an epistle from Moroni that censured him for his failure to support the armies. But Paharan not only gave Moroni the benefit of the doubt, he also immediately rushed to his aid, recognizing that such a letter could only come from his comrade if he was so desperate and deprived of necessities. For whom could you give the benefit of the doubt to in your life? How can you turn away wrath by supplying what this person is lacking? We read that many had become hardened because of the exceedingly great length of the war, but many were softened because of their afflictions, insomuch that they did humble themselves before God, even in the depth of humility. What is it like for you when you're softened by afflictions, humbled to the depths of humility before God?